The story of a people is told best by those who live it out daily. And when the history of that community is informative, inspirational, and insightful, it should then be shared with the world. The Clio Exchange does that.
Always been a good guy.
Well, it certainly has been that way with me, and I'm just so delighted that you chose to come down the freeway a little bit from New Jersey to spend some time with us.
Well, I'm glad you asked me.
The one thing that I think everyone is going to be surprised about, that is that you started the Gatorade celebration, didn't you?
Well, you know, I helped to start it.
Oh, okay.
And I perpetuated it. But the whole Gatorade thing really was the idea of Jim Burt. And actually the way it got started was Bill Parcells was trying to think of a way to motivate Jim. And we were going to play the Redskins. And he went up to Burt and he just started needling him about Jeff Bostic being a great center for the Redskins. And if he wasn't on his game, Bostic was going to kick his butt. And so he needled him all week. Long story short, Burt had a great game. Toward the end of the game, he came over to me knowing that I was one of Parcells' boys and said, you know, that Parcells, he's a, you know, he said, we ought to get him with something. And I said, well, what, Jim? And he said, oh, let's get him with the Gatorade. So that was the first time it happened. It was in the 1985 season. Never really happened again that season. And then the 86 season, we won a game against San Diego. And it was a game that we probably were not supposed to win. And we were so elated that I got him with the Gatorade. And if you know Bill Parcells is very superstitious. You do something one week, and if it works, you have to keep doing it. And so the 86 season really became a season of the Gatorade shower.
Okay. And you know, you kind of get the impression, knowing Bill Parcells from a distance, that he's the kind of guy, if he tells you he wants you to do something on a repeated basis, you'll do it.
Yeah, but he didn't tell me to do that.
Uh-huh.
He didn't tell me to do it, and actually, he didn't want it. But I told him, Bill, you know, as long as we win, you're going to get it, man.
Okay.
And so I was giving it to him, and, you know, it was better for him to get it than not get it, because by getting it, he knew that the game was in the bag. Not getting it,
right,
you know, we probably lost the game.
Well, you know, those were the happy years.
Yeah.
But I read someplace that going to the Giants was really the last thing on your mind.
Oh, no, I didn't want to go. I went to South Carolina State, came from a winning tradition, went to New York, and, you know, just knowing that I was going to the Giants, I thought New York was, you know, New York, you know, skyscrapers and everything. As it turned out, it was probably the best thing that ever happened for me, because I went to a team that had tremendous history, great players who had preceded me. And I think the one thing that I wanted to do after I left a game of football was to be mentioned in the same breath as some of those other players who had led the way for me. Those guys like Sam Huff and Andy Robustelli and Rosie Greer and Rosie Brown and all of those guys. And when you have that kind of history, you want to play well to uphold your era. And so while initially that was not where I wanted to go, it was probably the best place for me.
Well, the Clio Exchange is about getting to know people like yourself on a different level. And we've all marveled at your exploits on the football field. And I've come to appreciate you on the golf course over the years. We won't talk about your game.
It sucks.
but it's the other part of you that that we want to share with our viewers. And going back to South Carolina, growing up, who do you have in mind, or can you think about right now that had the greatest influence on your life?
Lou, I tell you, I mean, with so many people, and I grew up during the era of desegregation and all of that stuff, and so I was definitely of the era of it takes a village to raise a child. And if I did something and one of my neighbors saw it, they'd whip me, okay? And then they'd tell my mom, and then she'd whip me.
Another one.
Okay? And so I knew that people were watching and people wanted the best for me. And it wasn't any kind of abuse or anything, but they just wanted the best for me. There are many people who have been role models in my life. And I mean, there were people who gave me an opportunity to wash windows, to earn money and stuff like that. I mean, just...
Harry Carson washed windows?
Oh yeah, definitely, yeah. Way back then. But it was good to go through that experience because I was a poor kid when I ended up growing up.